Welcome to Salt Pig, where two cookbook writers chat about the ups and downs of actual home kitchen life. What are we talking about this week, Ellie?
We're talking about reset foods, the foods that are super nutritious and the type that you crave after maybe celebratory weekends or some vacations, some time away from the kitchen. Sometimes you just want to get back and eat some really nutrient-dense stuff. Yeah, and how our idea of what healthy food is and how that's changed over the years, I think I definitely think about it differently than I did even like 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I feel like it's become much more of a focus for me as I've gotten older.
Definitely. Yeah, supporting those 40-year-old, 40-somethings.
Take whatever we can get.
For sure.
You can find new and old episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. And check us out on Substack too at saltpig.substack.com. And there you can sign up for our monthly newsletter, The Chomp. All right, let's get started.
So I know you were away this weekend too, and I want to hear about your weekend, but I wanted to, we had this wedding to go to in Virginia this weekend. It was like such a blast. It was so fun to see all these people. This is my best friend from preschool who we're still friends, and we went to her wedding to this wonderful guy, and everything was great. And we ate so many treats all weekend. I mean, it was just like, platters of cookies and cake and late night pizza and like sitting around the fire and like have another slice of pizza and like just all this treats, so many treats. And the kids, we dropped the kids off with my in-laws, and I think they just had a weekend of like total treat euphoria. It's amazing for them. They have so much fun. But yeah, by the time we all got home yesterday, I was like, man, Tom and I were like brainstorming. We were like, we need some reset food. We need some serious vegetables. We need some, everything we can throw at it to like get ourselves back in the swing of things.
What did you fix?
I mean, last night I made some stir fry where I was just like,
perfect, yeah,
piles of broccoli, peppers, onions. I put in a tiny bit of steak, which isn't really especially in that realm, but it was actually such a small amount. And I was like, sort of got everyone over the line. But I was like, I just want to be like scooping piles of vegetables onto like this bed of brown rice and just be crunching through it. Like there's also something about the vegetables not being like super cooked.
Yep.
That felt really satisfying. I was like
the roughage.
Yeah, the roughage. I was like, I want to be like crunching through this and feeling like the sort of sparkle of all these vitamins like distributing through my body. So that felt a lot better.
Way,
yeah.
I just crave a salad. I want like raw, crunchy lettuce. I want the radishes. I want like bitter flavors and stuff.
Yes.
And that's what feels so nourishing in those moments.
Yes.
When you need like the reset.
Yes. I remember once Tom and I were in New Orleans for, I think it was actually for my birthday, like years ago before we had children. And I mean, New Orleans is like so fun to eat. It's such a great eating town. And we were just like going for it. And I remember, like after, a few days in New Orleans, and then we like went like sort of into the bayou, and we were like I think we were in Lafayette or one of the towns like sort of Western Louisiana. And I was like, enough is enough. I need a salad. I need a salad like more than I've ever needed in my life. So we went to this restaurant that was like not a salad restaurant. But I was like, I'm really going to try not to be tempted to get like the Cajun pasta or the whatever like bowls of gumbo and all this stuff. I was like, I'm just getting a salad. And it was like sort of a jazzy salad. So I was like, this is going to be great for dinner. And it came and it literally had these, like when you get like walnuts in like a ice cream sundae.
Oh, like
where they're like
with the brown sugar praline,
yes,
sort of coated.
But it's also like literally in like a syrup.
Oh, wow! No,
this salad was like, it was like iceberg lettuce and some other like some grated cheese, like a bunch of stuff where I was like, this is not exactly what I had in mind. It's like grated cheese and pieces of bacon and like some pieces of like fried chicken on it. But then it also was topped off with literally these like wet walnuts in sort of this syrup on top of the salad. And I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever eaten. And absolutely not the like cleansing salad experience that I wanted.
But was it good?
It was kind of too much. I was like,
interesting.
having a piece of lettuce with like some syrup on it is pretty weird, turns out.
I've been gifted this before where it's like walnuts in honey. Was it something like that where it was like...
Yeah, it felt like it was, I mean, I guess, my guess actually is that someone was trying to candy them and they just didn't do it exactly right. So it was a little looser than they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So it was just like sort of this sludge sort of slipping into my salad.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I was like...
It makes you... Yeah.
They're not... I mean, who goes to Louisiana and eats salad? It's just a bad move.
Yeah. I feel like one of the interesting things about our line of work, or at least for the types of projects that I've worked on, is you start to realize like how subjective health is, like what a healthy meal is, or what a sort of reset meal is, or what's nourishing, and how regional it is. Like there's a project I have been working on for a while now. I'm still working with this person, but it's like Gulf area food, like the Gulf of America, or what Gulf of Mexico. My God, did I just say that? We're editing that out. Gulf of...
You're like, I do not subscribe to that.
I was just going to say Gulf food, and then I was like, well, let me just specify which Gulf we're talking about. But in my mind, it's like there's just like so much cream in everything, and it always kind of like begins with rendering some smoked meat, and like it's just so meaty in general.
Yeah.
And then like a reset meal, or what in the context of this project might be like a healthy meal, is like some kind of soup, but it's like a really cheesy cream-based soup. And in my mind, I'm kind of on the same page as you, where I want like, my mind goes like Mediterranean, I guess.
Yeah.
Where it's like a lot of fresh vegetables, lightly dressed, get like a hard-boiled egg in there, maybe some kind of like some poached chicken or shrimp, or like tofu, or like a lean type of protein.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want.
Unadulterated. Yeah.
Yeah. And then other things I've worked on where it's like, it's a raw foods diet, where the reset meal is like raw foods, or it's like it's very specific around, and this is in the scope of what I would think is already a pretty exacting, like health oriented type of diet.
Yeah.
So like there's a reset meal within this scope of like already what everything feels like a reset meal,
Yeah, yeah, and then it has to be raw. Like then then
it's like taking it to an extra extreme. Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, raw food. I love raw food, and I do crave it after these rich meals. But the idea of having an entirely a raw food diet,
well, I don't think that it's actually the science holds up to it either. From what what am I talking about? But I feel like it was a sort of a fad for a little while. But
yeah.
There are like a lot of vegetables that the nutrients become more available to us in their cooked state. So it's not like it's always the best way to be consuming certain vegetables.
Right, that's true. Yeah, like what are those vegetables that you know of?
Like carrots, for example.
Oh.
I don't know if it's the beta carotene, or which is like what converts to like vitamin A in our bodies. I think it's more bioavailable in its cooked state than it is in its raw state.
Interesting.
I wish I could just hold on to this type of information, but I have it as long as I need it, and then I'm like, release. I don't need to.
I hear that. Especially if the takeaway is like, oh, cooked carrots are good too. You're like, great.
Exactly. No, and I was just reading something because I was thinking about you last night. I was making these like a veggie meatball sort of thing that involved a full package of frozen spinach.
Yum.
And I squeezed it dry because it was going to be going into this meatball thing, and I didn't want, I needed to hold its shape and everything.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that before, and I think this was even on a project where one of your notes on my recipe, I instructed to like squeeze the moisture out, and then this was going into a soup, and so you're like, why are you squeezing the moisture out if it's just going into a wet soup? And also, like, are you losing a bunch of nutrients that way? Which I was not able to find out in the last since this happened and right now.
Yeah.
If there are nutrients lost, but I did learn that cooking spinach does make some of its nutrients more it doesn't necessarily make them more viable. It's a specific oxalatic acid or something that it removes by cooking.
Oh.
So it's not to say that it's like healthier or less healthy in one way, but there are certain advantages to cooking it.
So that makes it more available for us to maybe
Or
be
just
accessing those vitamins or something.
Yes, exactly. So,
interesting.
Like
so what were the veggie meatballs?
so I'm wanting to make a meatball. It's like a turkey meatball, but it's like half turkey and then half vegetables. I used to do this sometimes when I had this veggie burger company. It was like a packed veggie burger mix that you could shape them into patties and then cook them off. Mm-hmm. And I would recommend to people that they take a package of this veggie burger mix and then a pound of ground meat or whatever and mix them together, and you have like a veggie oriented hamburger meatball, whatever it is. Great idea. And so it's kind of building on that idea.
Oh, cool. That sounds great. I should do that more, because it is like every time you add veggies to meatballs or any like ground meat thing, it's such a great way to insert some nutrition and no one really notices. And in fact, it sometimes makes it a lot better because it's a little bit like a little less dense, a little softer.
Yeah, exactly.
A little juicier.
In fact, that was my note from the recipe. I was like, how do I make this so that it's got a little bit less of a soft texture? It held its shape totally fine, but it was a little bit soft.
Yeah. Could use a little more texture. Huh. Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah. So healthy food. So I know with you particularly, your definition of that has really changed over the years too. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
I mean, I feel like I just also became aware at some point, people sort of see my work as being in the world of like healthy recipes, which that wasn't necessarily something that I set out to do or that I did intentionally. And so it's over the past couple of years, I've had a little bit of a reckoning of like, what am I doing here? And like, what is my food really about? Or what am I trying to achieve with my recipes? And I realized like, oh, I actually am into this sort of stuff. And I think it all just comes down to like wanting to like feel good as much as possible. And I wrote something recently about how influential the omnivore's dilemma was.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the whole like, eat real food, mostly plants, not too much or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that has always shaped my approach to like day-to-day eating.
Oh, me too. I mean, and my mom was sort of before her time maybe, and I think that was very much her philosophy too, in like definitely cooked sort of exclusively whole foods, had a lot of vegetables, and wasn't that concerned with fats or calories certainly, but really was about like, if you're eating whole foods and a lot of them are vegetables, then probably you're good to go. And that's my idea too with it. But then it's interesting, like after this weekend or a trip where you feel like you've really just done some damage to yourself in terms of just going overboard.
My thing is like bowls and big salads.
Yeah.
I love a grain bowl, a bunch of different vegetables on top, some kind of protein.
Yeah.
Or same thing with the salad, but greens instead of and I actually just like crave that. I could eat that probably most days, some meal like that.
Well, it is funny once you get into that type of eating also, it starts to feel, you start to crave it all the time. It's not like your body's like, get me back to the fried chicken platter necessarily. I mean,
I know. I was just so Vincent and I haven't really been drinking since the start of the year.
Yeah.
And we've done this like every year we do like dry January or something. And then this year we're just kind of like keeping it going a little longer. And it's crazy how first there's just not that like, I'm sorry, just as a caveat, like we're not going out on benders every night, but like, I feel like as the year sort of builds towards the holidays, it ends up becoming kind of an everyday thing.
Yes.
And your baseline is just waking up a little bit hungover every morning, and you think that's just kind of like morning grogginess, and then you stop drinking, and after a couple of weeks, you're like, wow, I feel really well rested, and this is amazing. And I didn't realize that it was just the 2 glasses of wine or whatever that were causing this. And of course, this is something that has become more and more pronounced the older I've gotten.
Yes, but, of course.
Now I also notice it with food. And so
interesting.
If we go out to eat, like the other night we went and got ramen for dinner, and I was like, I don't know if it's the salt or what it is, but you just wake up and you're like, wow, that really kind of like threw me off kilter.
Really?
So
I could totally see that. Yeah. I could totally see that. Do you have one of these like Whoops or
Oh,
like an Apple Watch or any of
Vincent
that
has
stuff?
one.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like a
okay.
big topic of our life.
So what is he like hoping to get from it?
I mean, I think it's kind of fascinating. He
Yeah.
gets like the main topic of conversation is the sleep score.
Yes.
So every
Sleep score.
morning
It's all
it's
about
an
sleep
update
score.
on the sleep score. And for
Yeah.
Vincent, our joke is that anything below a 97% is a poor night's sleep for him.
And has he identified like what are the things that, because for me, I guess I'm asking a very leading question. The main thing that it's really taught me is that if I have like one drop of alcohol, my sleep is terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like
And it's
the
like
way
not
you can
even,
see
I
it
don't
on that
even
data.
notice it. I know
Yeah.
it's I have high sleep stress. And
Yes.
I'm like, it's not that I'm feeling stressed when I'm sleeping. It's not that I have like, I can't tell that. But for sure, it's like, oh yeah, something terrible is happening at night after you have one drop of alcohol. And it does give me serious pause now
Yeah.
before I drink. It's actually like an incredibly effective way to cut down on drinking.
It's truly, truly, truly. And you see the graph of like the past 7 nights sleep. And it's like what you're talking about. It's like a bar graph and it's sectioned into 3 parts. And the bottom is like sleep stress, like your sleep stress rating. And so we go back through until like January 1st and you can see the 5 times we've had drinks in the past
Yes.
3 months, the sleep stress is like up through the roof. And then every other night, it's almost not even noticeable.
And we were just at this wedding and I wasn't drinking that much, partially because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what it's,
Do I want to do this to myself?
yeah, what it's really doing for me. So I had like, maybe a glass of wine, maybe 2 over like, a 6-hour long experience.
Yeah.
And still my sleep was like, nope, you're not getting away with that. Like
It's so crazy.
I was shocked by it. So I'm curious if there are any doctors out there who listen to this podcast who have any opinions about sleep stress, please let us know.
I know. Well, the thing that we keep talking about too is how powerfully addictive alcohol must be.
Yeah.
That we have this data. Mental clarity is
Yep.
there's a marked difference.
Yeah.
And I just like love the way our nights, it's just like I read more. I'm just doing, like I just feel more alert and more sort of enjoy.
Yeah.
And yet almost every day there's that point around like 6:15, 6:30. I'm like, oh, it would be really nice just to have like a cocktail or like a glass of wine with this meal or something. And it still sounds good, even though I've been like living and breathing this incredibly persuasive case to like never touch the stuff again.
I know. That's true with food too. It's true with smoking cigarettes. It's true with like all this stuff where you're like, it's not good for you. And then somehow you can sort of justify it or you still crave it.
You just touched on sort of one of the challenges that I always encounter in talking about healthy, quote unquote, healthy cooking is, first off, how subjective it is, but also like how important pleasure is in the experience of food. And
Yes.
and I think it's probably true for both of us that that's what brought us here. This
Yes.
is
Absolutely.
like the pleasure of the multisensory experience of food. And then also just our interest in sort of the history and the culture and the technical aspects of food creation and stuff that like I don't want to practice anything and I definitely don't want to advocate for anything that in any way like makes that all not feel so important,
Right. I think that's absolutely true. And it's funny, like, I know you've worked on some health books. I've worked on some health books. And it's always interesting to, like, you learn new things working on these projects and working with different authors and people have different expertise. And it's really interesting to be totally submerged in that content and then still have an inkling to not eat that way all the time. I mean, like, there have been projects that I've been, like, very influenced by, and especially in terms of like maybe adding on certain like really nutrient dense foods. Like that's one thing that I think has evolved a little bit from the Michael Pollan idea. In addition to what you're not eating, maybe there are some things that you can be eating that are like especially good for you. And that I find very appealing. That I'm like so into. So it's like if someone's like, oh, chia seeds are amazing for you. I'm like, great, let's find a way to eat some more chia seeds.
Yeah, and fermented food. Yeah, no, but I'm kind of with you there, where you like. I feel like it's the project I have worked on, and maybe some of the ones that we've worked on together are.
Yeah.
They've opened my mind to ingredients that I hadn't really thought of, except for as these niche superfoods. And
Yes.
suddenly, when I'm thinking of them as like ingredients, I can incorporate into my cooking, and that I find to be kind of delicious.
Yes.
That makes it really fun. It opens my culinary scope more than it like narrows it.
Exactly. And I think for people like you and I who are so enthusiastic about eating, that's definitely the approach for me. If someone's just telling me a bunch of stuff not to eat, then that doesn't work.
Yes, exactly.
I remember a book that we worked on together, almond flour featured like really prominently.
Everywhere.
And that was an ingredient that I had never played around with. First of all, I was like, I think it's probably really expensive and it goes bad quickly. And like, do you have to keep it in the freezer? And you can't do a 1-to-1 swap with flour. It sounds complicated. Then you have to use a special recipe and blah, blah, blah. But I did buy some because we were working on that book, and playing around with it actually has been really fun. And it's one of those ingredients now that like I use all the time. Like it feels like an additive nutritional thing where I'm like, oh, I'm making pancakes. I can add a little bit of almond flour in there. I don't have to like exactly figure out how it works perfectly to know that it will, if you're not swapping all your flour out for it, it's probably going to be fine. Or similarly with like, cookies, or I make these broccoli pancakes for the kids, which I think I've talked about, and like use a ton of almond flour in that. And it's been such a fun ingredient in those ways to just play with and feel like, oh, this feels a tiny bit more improved than it could otherwise.
And then that's an example where I feel like the leap is very easy to make because you're like, this is just ground up almonds.
Yes.
It's nothing. It's already familiar to me, but I just hadn't thought about it that much in this format.
That's right. That's right. I was thinking about making some bowls sometime this week. And I get a little pushback from the kids in terms of like, if I make like quinoa, no one's like that psyched about it. But I do think if I just keep exposing them to it and maybe put some really interesting stuff on top of it, like that's the kind of thing where I'm like, oh, we could just have white rice, which everyone loves. But I'm like, and I mean, it's so good and we eat it all the time. But I'm like, it is nice to swap some of the stuff out where you do feel like, oh, this is this little extra hit of protein and some other stuff. And it feels nice to do that for yourself, especially when you're trying to.
Do you know what I just did last night I made in my rice cooker? I did 1 part white rice and then 1 part like some quinoa, some buckwheat groats, some bulgur. It's like just half quick cooking grains and half white rice on the white rice setting of the rice cooker. And it was great.
Really?
It's like chewy.
Because it doesn't matter if they get over, as long as they're all quick cooking ones.
They're all quick cooking. It did kind of seem that the white rice broke down a little bit for some reason, but it was still fluffy and chewy, and I mean, it was delicious.
A great base for things.
And it had sometimes when you do the whole grains, if you like cook spelt or farro or brown rice or something, there's just, I know that the fiber is really good for you, but it just doesn't have the same kind of satisfying
it doesn't.
chew as white rice.
Yeah, it doesn't. Although, you have a pressure cooker, right? Or you don't?
I have an Instant Pot that has the pressure cooker thing. I don't use it that often.
One thing, I think it's a love and lemons recipe. I mean, it's pretty basic, but it's making brown rice in your pressure cooker.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's like 2 cups of brown rice, 2.5 cups of water, some salt in the pressure cooker for 20 minutes. It's the type of thing. It's the perfect type of recipe for me because I'm like, if I can't memorize it, then I'm probably not going to go back to it. But it makes such delicious brown rice.
Wow.
It's kind of a game changer. I'm sure your rice cooker can make really good brown rice too.
It takes more than 20 minutes though. Usually brown rice takes a while, yeah.
It takes a really long time. This is short grain brown rice, and
That's my favorite one too.
It's my favorite one. It does take longer because it takes a while to get up to temperature, and then it takes a while to like do the natural release or whatever.
Oh yeah, this is the thing with those pressure.
I know.
Like nobody ever factors in the 30 minutes of natural release after the 20-minute recipe.
I know. And it's one of those things, like I remembered yesterday at like 5 o'clock, I was like, oh, I was going to make brown rice for the stir fry. And I was like, thank God I'm thinking about it now. Cause that always catches me where I'm like, oh, I only have half hour. It's too late to make it. Everyone's going to complain, and I'll just make white rice. But yeah, but it's really good. The kids still don't like it as much as white rice, but it's a nice.
I like
I
it.
think it's.
I like
it's
it better
delicious.
than white rice now.
I do too.
Well, that's kind of the thing with all these types. I remember on that book that you mentioned with the almond flour, there was like chia pudding was something that was in there that I had made some like overnight oats that I put chia seeds in, and I'd like tried chia pudding here and there, but I never really liked it, and I definitely framed it as one of these kind of woo-woo-y foods that were just not going to appeal to me.
Yeah.
And that book, I don't know if it's just like the process of like making it a few times and like iterating on it that I was like, oh, chia pudding is actually delicious.
Oh, delicious.
And I'm completely into it, and it's so easy.
Yes.
And then come to find out it's actually like incredibly nutritious. So it's like a great thing to be eating every single day.
Oh, yeah. I make that. In fact, I made some when we got back the other day. I made like a overnight oats with a ton of chia in it, but like also like a can of coconut milk and some maple syrup and salt and water. I think that was basically it. And it is so good with some fruit. I'm not into like sweet things for breakfast, but there's something about it it doesn't have to be incredibly sweet. It has that sort of natural sweetness from the coconut and just a little bit of maple syrup and some fruit and stuff. It feels it's good. Great. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the reasons that I never opened my mind that much to chia pudding is that I'm not a coconut person, and every single recipe I'd see, or every time you'd see it out, it's like coconut chia puddings with coconut milk.
Yeah.
But then when I realized you can just use yogurt, which in my protein journey, this has been great. So I basically make it with like half Greek yogurt and half water as the liquid. And so it's an all-in-one breakfast.
Oh, yeah. And do you just do chia or do you add oats, or depends on the day?
I go back and forth.
But yeah, I was trying to think of other foods that I lean on in these moments of wanting something more nutritious.
I'm big on broth. That's something that when the weather gets cold, and I kind of think if you taste homemade broth, whether it's vegetable broth, bone broth, whatever, there's just no way to go back to the canned or box stuff. It's just not the same.
It's not the same. I was shocked how muddy and yucky this tasted. I was just like, it sort of had too much history.
Too much history.
Like it felt just like it was sort of telling me a story that I didn't want to hear, I was like...
This simmered too long. You let too much happen.
Yeah. It just like no one was sort of at the helm. I was just like, this is yucky.
Not good.
Yucky.
But when it's freshly made, that to me, that's something that I find to be incredibly nourishing. It's so good for you. What are you fixing for dinner tonight?
Well, on this note, I was thinking about making some quinoa, and I have somehow I have a surplus of cauliflowers in the house. I think I didn't realize I'd bought one. Anyway, I'm juggling cauliflower. So I was going to roast some cauliflower and make like a bowl. Okay. I guess. I don't know what the protein, I was like, I could roast some chickpeas. Then it starts to all feel very starchy. So I might, or maybe I'll get some chicken or something, but do that and then maybe make like a yummy sauce to drizzle over it, like a green spicy sauce or a tahini thing. Or
this is right in line.
I know, it's right in line. And I think the like make your own factor of it can be appealing to the kids. I was going to also make like a quick pickle, like some pickled onions or some pickled cabbage or something that adds some crunch and some raw.
Do you make your pickled onions?
I slice them up and then I heat up like equal parts water and vinegar on the stove, and then add like a couple tablespoons of sugar maybe, and maybe a tablespoon of salt. I mean, I basically sort of
like
taste
a full
it.
jar.
Yeah, for a full big jar. So maybe not that much salt and sugar, but I just sort of toss some in basically and stir it until it dissolves, and then just pour it over whatever raw veggie.
Okay, and let it cool. And do you slice them thick or thin? I
have them pretty thin, just because that's sort of more the texture I want at the end. But yeah, it usually seems, as long as you've got some sugar in there. It
Yeah,
seems
it
like
needs
it
some
balances
sugar.
out.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
definitely needs some sugar. And it definitely needs the water too. Like if you were to do it all vinegar,
Pure.
it would be, way too
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
But how do
It
you
was-
do yours?
Well, I was going to ask because I always get a little bit put off by the amount of vinegar it takes. And maybe I just need to buy larger containers of vinegar, but it just seems like every time I make quick pickled vegetables, I go through a quarter or a half bottle of white
a lot of
vinegar or
vinegar.
rice vinegar or something. So one of my friends, Manny, he was telling me that he makes pickled onions by slicing them up kind of thinly, putting them in a jar with like a couple splashes of vinegar, and then pinches of salt, pinches of sugar, seals the jar, shakes it, and then just lets it sit.
Really?
Yeah, and so I tried that recently, and it's kind of different from
Yeah.
pickled onions in the traditional
So they're
sense.
not submerged?
They're not but then as it sits, they release water, so they end up sitting in some liquid.
Okay.
And it kind of worked, and it definitely helped solve the problem of wasting vinegar.
Yeah.
In my mind, do you end up using the vinegar again?
I've tried, well, and that's one thing. It's interesting that we're talking about this because I've tried doing that. I think just adding new onions, like if you got through all those onions, for example, and then you just added new onions,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like that quite works as well. Like there's something about having the hot, the hot brine. So then I've tried reheating the brine and pouring them over onions, and that seems okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's not. That feels also kind of weird. But I've definitely done it.
but they taste fine. Did
They taste fine.
Different?
Oh yeah, no, they tasted fine. I think I just was like, I guess if you bring it to a boil, any weird residual stuff in there would.
I would never have worried about that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is, and it's vinegar, right? I mean,
exactly.
it seems like, yeah. I think that's. So yeah, I have done that, but I would I just use like supermarket brand white vinegar for that kind of stuff. I too wouldn't probably waste good vinegar on that because it does just plow through it. And then you're not like drinking it at the end or anything. It's not like you're.
Yeah, we should talk at some point on this podcast about white vinegar as an ingredient. That would be an interesting
Love
one.
it. That's a good one. We should add that to the list. What are you making for dinner?
I am making some tofu meatballs. So last night was those meatballs that I told you about. And then I'm working on a tofu version right now that I think I'm going to do it for my newsletter, but I'm thinking of taking them in like a charred scallion direction,
Yum.
So we'll see how that goes. And then put that over some of these mixed grains, figure out some kind of yogurty sauce situation.
Sounds yummy.
And that's it. Yeah.
Like firm tofu, you're thinking?
Yeah. The firm tofu, you just kind of blot dry, crumble it up. I'm going to use an egg to bind it. I'll try it out with.
Yeah.
This is a question I always get. It's like, I don't need eggs. And so in recipes like these, you have to have an alternative ready.
Yeah.
And I think a flax egg would probably work totally fine.
I think it probably would too.
That's another healthy, quote, ingredient that I'm all about now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love flax.
Just like sprinkling it in like
more like baking.
okay.
Like these crackers that I make all the time, or I'll put flax seeds in. Well, it's mostly baking, but there's like a loaf of bread that I've been making that has a lot of flax meal in it.
Yeah.
But sprinkling it over stuff too, yeah. Though I don't think that you digest them if they aren't ground up.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And then if it is ground up, then they go bad really quickly. Is that right?
Yeah, but I just keep all that stuff in the freezer.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I keep it in the fridge, but the freezer would be better. My freezer's just so full.
Oh, it sounds like we both have some pretty virtuous dinners happening tonight.
Yeah, we do.
Perfectly on topic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'll enjoy it. Hope the meatballs turn out well.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy your bowls.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see how they go. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.